The planeswalker Urza was burdened with the knowledge that his hated foes, the Phyrexians, were planning an invasion of Dominaria. Their sleeper agents were everywhere, always seeking to gain a foothold on the world. Urza took it upon himself to lay down defenses for his home, to utterly defeat and repel the invasion when it finally arrived. To this end, Urza would prepare a myriad of defenses for Dominaria. He established the Tolarian Academy, where he could conduct research and turn promising students into powerful master wizards. He would craft the skyship Weatherlight, the ultimate flying vessel. Equipped with the most powerful weaponry and the most skilled crew, the Weatherlight would serve as Urza's flagship and centerpiece of his defenses. Urza started the Bloodlines Project, a secret breeding program that tied together different Dominarian families over time. With this project, he sought to breed the ultimate humans, champions that would serve as heroes on the battlefield against Phyrexia. But though his projects for his academy, his flagship, and his champions were well underway, if Urza was to have any chance against the armies of Phyrexia, he would need an army of his own. This army, one intended to fight against the most dangerous foes Dominaria had ever known, could not just be mortal men. Urza set out to create a new breed of warriors, a race born of the union between biological manipulation, magical enhancement, and infusion of artifice. His front line would not just be stronger, faster, and smarter than humans, they would be instinctively suited for combat. Urza's race of warriors would be obedient yet adaptable, powerful and resilient. Just as Sarah had created angels from her center in white mana, Urza would take his blue center and give birth to the Metathran. The Bloodlines Project was, as far as Urza's endeavors go, fairly tame. He would go about manipulating the marriages between Dominarian families, attempting to strengthen their connection to white mana between generations, refining and enhancing them until a single, perfect individual could be born. In contrast, his Metathran army was born through much less moral means. He would gather from around Dominaria the finest genetic stock, and through careful manipulation and magical infusion, the foundation of his artificial race would be laid down. However, not all of Urza's allies would be happy with this new project. Tolarian researchers were already raising ethical questions regarding the manipulation of bloodlines as a whole. But when Urza began manipulating life itself, it was the final straw. Many researchers quit the project entirely, utterly disgusted in the work Urza was conducting. Not just disgusted by manipulating life, these researchers were also shocked to learn that these Metathran were quite similar indeed to the Phyrexians Urza had described, an artificial race born of their union between biology and artifice. Not even Barin, Urza's closest ally and longtime friend, was comfortable with manipulating life in this way. The two would argue over the nature of the project, though it ultimately continued. As more and more researchers abandoned the project, only less ethical men, such as Gatha, would remain. Scornful of Barin's attempts to keep the Metathran project moral, Gatha in particular went about performing horrifying, unauthorized experiments. Eventually, these experiments were discovered, and Gatha would be expelled from Tolaria. His research did not end, however. In fact, Gotha would continue his experiments in the warrior nation of Keld. These experiments led to Gotha creating a champion, the warlord Krieg. Krieg in turn would become mighty enough to be noticed by the Phyrexians, the very enemy the Bloodlines Project was designed to combat. Once they realized what was happening, the Phyrexians launched a surprise assault against many of the locations they believed were being used to house the Bloodlines Project. Thousands would die in these attacks, most notably much of Clan Capuchin. If it were not for the fortunate survival of a handful of individuals, Urza's Bloodlines Project would have been met with annihilation. As for the Metathran themselves, they would go undisturbed and unnoticed by the Phyrexians at large. They were safely stored away in stasis, hidden inside fast time bubbles on Teleria until the time Urza believed they would be needed. That time would be at the onset of the Phyrexian invasion, where the Metathran were awakened and served as the frontline troops against the invaders for much of the war. This artificial race would prove invaluable in helping to keep the tide of Phyrexia at bay. As members of Dominaria's coalition, the Metathran were involved in virtually every battle of the war, performing splendidly as Urza had hoped. Just like any army, the Metathran were led by generals, 2 to be specific. Thaddeus and Agnate were a pair of twins created to be even more intelligent than the rest of their species. Sharing a telepathic bond, they were intended to lead the Metathran to victory. Sadly, Thaddeus would perish in the first major battle of the invasion at Koilos. He would fall for a trap set by Sabo Tavok and be ripped apart by the Phyrexian monstrosity, leaving Thaddeus as just a head tormented by the knowledge that the Phyrexians and the Metathran were not so different. Upon being discovered, Thaddeus did not wish to be given a new body, instead begging his brother to end him. Tearfully, Agnate agreed, ending his twins' suffering. Devastated, Agnate would nevertheless continue leading his troops alongside the other generals of the coalition. He would grow depressed as the war waged on, until he would have an encounter one day with Drolnu, a lich from Urborg. By sheer coincidence, this lich greatly resembled Thaddeus, and approached Agnate as a friend. The Metathran general took Drolnu to the coalition, and for a time they fought together. However, Agnate soon grew ill, and learned that Drolnu had secretly infected him with a plague, seeking to turn him into an undead minion. Heartbroken and betrayed, he begged the Minotaur general, Grizzlegom, to slay him before the plague took hold. At the Minotaur's mercy, Agnate joined his brother Thaddeus in death. As for the rest of the Metathran army, they would fight valiantly throughout the rest of the invasion, even as Yawgmoth's cloud of death washed over the world. Those that survived the invasion would eventually perish to old age or disease. The race itself could not propagate further. Urza had created them as genderless beings that were incapable of breeding. Their purpose fulfilled, the Metathran race effectively became extinct at the end of the Phyrexian invasion. It's been almost 2 whole years now since I've started this channel, and what a ride it's been. I've gone from just covering a bit of old or obscure lore to a wide variety of Vorthos topics. along the way I've grown quite a bit. As of the recording of this video, I'm just shy of 1,700 subscribers. I've got nothing to say. I'm extremely grateful to everyone who's kept up with me so far. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. The Metathran were the very first topic I covered on this channel. I was inspired when a friend of mine asked what the hell they were supposed to be, so I whipped up a video and put it on YouTube. Back then, I kind of glossed over the story of Thaddeus and Agnate at the end, and I always wanted to go back and talk about them just a little more. Here, I think I did them justice, even if only a little. This is the first video that I've quote-unquote remastered, though I think I may do more as time goes on. Even if I don't, I have no plans to stop putting out Vorthos content. I've made it nearly 2 whole years with this channel, and I plan to make it many more. So, once again, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this video with your friends. If you want to support me directly, I'll be leaving a link to my Patreon in the description below. Finally, if you have any suggestions for a topic you'd like me to discuss, feel free to let me know in the comments section. Thanks again, and have a great day.